you from the Radio for One studios in Franklin, Michigan. Welcome to the Detroit Cast.
Big fan.
A show not just free of charge, but free of FCC regulations.
Thank you for your support of the Detroit Cast.
Oh, there it is.
And without further delay, it's showtime. Please welcome the Detroit Cast. Here are your hosts, Mike and Jay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Detroit Cast. Mike and Jay, shalom, E. Jay, how are you, my friend?
Better now, sir.
Yeah?
Yeah, I accompanied Manny to his road test today, his driving test.
Wow.
Whew, what an experience.
Yeah?
He passed.
He did. I would
But-
expect, I'd be shocked if he didn't pass.
I don't know, man. I think those things are set up to barely pass, honestly. They're so hypercritical of everything.
You talking about the written part or the...
Road, dude.
just road?
Purely road.
Okay. Has he already done the written...
The process is much different now.
Yeah.
You and I remember enrolling in probably a private class that put us in a classroom maybe 3 hours, put us
Yeah.
on the road for another 30 minutes or so, and then
Totally.
and then gave us a permit.
Yeah.
We then proceeded to have that permit from age 15 to 16, at which time we went to the Secretary of State and took a written test, probably 25 to 30 questions, no road test.
Yeah, I
and
failed
were
that, by the way.
handed a license.
Yeah.
You failed it?
I did the written one the first time. I had to take it a second time. I
Dude,
think it was 20
the
questions.
are like, what does this sign mean?
Yeah.
Stop?
I think you had to get 16 right out of 20, if I'm not mistaken. And this is a sore subject. I have not talked about this before. But I believe I dropped the ball when it got to... There was a couple questions about, like...
Duck crossing?
No.
Like, speed up.
It wasn't that. It was something about, like, who goes first if you're all stopped at a four-way stop sign. And it was like, oh, fuck. I think the answer's me. But no, it's the person to your right. It's the person to your right. And then it was something about, I remember, like, double yellow lines versus slotted yellow lines versus white lines. It was like, oh, shit, I should have
Confused the
opened
shit
that
out of you.
pamphlet. I really should have
Yeah.
opened that pamphlet.
How long
Thought
before you went back and retook it?
It was longer than it should have been. It was a few weeks.
What the hell, dude?
Yeah, I know.
Because
I
back
don't know.
then, man, you were like flies on shit. You had to get your license ASAP.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays, it's like, I'll get it
Yeah.
when I get it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're more concerned about their phones than cars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Way more. I know. It's weird. Isn't that? That's just so weird to me. Like, I get that if you're in a major metropolis like Chicago or New York, where you really don't need a car. Everyone goes subway or there's just so much transportation. But where we grew up, it's all spread out everywhere, and there's no public trans. And so you had to get a license. That was your freedom.
Yeah.
But kids don't care now.
Although Manny's in the thick of it here. He's about to turn 16 next week, so he will be
Nice.
there on his 16th birthday to
Yeah.
finally do whatever it is. I'm not exactly sure whether that's a written test at that point or just filling out forms in triplicate. I'm not sure.
Is it at the Secretary of State?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll probably be similar to what we took.
Probably. But today, dude, was something I'd never experienced, and I had to
Yeah.
go as a parent and sit in the back of the car and all that shit.
Ooh.
So we show up, and the thing I'm supposed to do is get Manny there. I found out last night it's my obligation to get Manny to this
Sure.
thing, and I need proof of insurance, I need car registration, I need a car without a cracked windshield. So I'm like, got it. No
Yeah.
problem.
Oh, you were taking your own car?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought that the instructor needed to
No.
have like the brake and could take over the controls in an instant. No.
No, so we pull up, and right at 10 o'clock or whatever it was, there she is, and she's approaching us with her clipboard.
Ooh, the clipboard.
May I please have your registration, proof of insurance? I give it to her. Proof of insurance, my shit dot matrix printer or whatever it is didn't print the whole VIN number at the bottom. It like printed half of it. She's like, unacceptable. That's rejected. We can't accept that. I'm like, okay. She's like, why don't you look and see if you have another copy of that? I'm like, waste of time. I don't have another copy of that. That's what's
Yeah.
in my glove compartment. She's like, well, you have 10 minutes to get a full copy of that, or this is canceled.
That's kind of harsh or bitchy even.
You're kind of a bitch, aren't you? I see where this is going.
Yeah.
So I quick call the insurance company. I'm like, hey, can you, text me a picture of it?
Yeah.
So they did, and
Good
surprisingly,
call. I wouldn't have thought of that.
she accepted that. I couldn't believe it. I'm like holding my phone there while
Yeah.
she's taking down numbers and all this shit.
Yeah.
But she scolded us, like, oh, you could be ticketed for that and all that. So I'm like, okay, this is where this is going. So then I'm removed from the car. Manny has to do the parking part,
Oh, the parallel?
Yeah, and I'm,
Bag up.
I'm watching all that go on. He's doing fine, whatever. But then I get in and we go for like a 20, 25-minute drive with this lady.
Yeah. And she's sitting
And
shotgun, and you're in the
she
back
asked you
seat.
to like, do the radio, right, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like, do the radio, make a chain, lane change. Yeah.
So he's been through this process. So
See, I remember like having to get in. They wanted to make sure you adjusted your seat, adjusted your side mirror, your rear view mirror, your seat belt. There was a whole like pattern, and then 10 and 2.
that's what was killing me. Is me and Manny went over all this on the way there. I'm like, dude, she might throw something at you. Like she might not buckle up. And she's waiting
Yeah.
to see if you drive away without her buckled up. And you say, ma'am, could you please buckle up before I proceed? And he's like, got it, And so we were checking where the hazards are and all this shit. And
Yeah.
he had it down. But
Did
then,
you come up with a system where you're like, all right, I might reach my arm through and poke you in the
I
side,
should've,
Manny,
dude.
and if that means something's not right.
I should have,
poke him in the
because my
side.
man decides he's low riding it today. He's got one hand on the goddamn
not
steering
leaning.
wheel. I'm like, you might as well turn on the spinners and get this thing bumping. Throw on some Tupac and get
Manny.
the hydraulics going. It was ridiculous. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, what time did this test start? Was it 10 o'clock?
Or was it 2
10?
minutes after
Dude,
2?
I literally, and then went, I think your mom's going to be home from work at 2, though. And he's just driving along one hand. Fuck! So I'm going, okay, dude's going to, fail.
Yeah.
He
He's
got a black mark
one
already.
check mark.
And then we're headed down Lapeer Road, and a guy pulls right. It was like this shit was planned. Guy pulls right out in front of him. Guy should have gone to the lane next to him, but he didn't. He remained in the lane. Pisses you off, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard break, and then go around and flip him off. Like, that's the move,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Manny decides, no, not going to break. I'm just going to ride up on this guy's ass until he moves over. So I'm like, son of a bitch, we're 2 minutes in, we're done. Why are we even going on with this thing?
You wasted my gas now.
So she's, still, she's not judgmental. She's not giving any criticism. You can tell that's being withheld till the end.
Yeah.
So she's just like, as E said, every now and then, when it's safe, you'll want to move over one lane, and she's just seeing how he
Yeah.
checks
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
So he's doing all that. Then he decides to launch it.
What?
Dude, he decides to launch this son of a bitch over a train track.
Oh, God.
So we get back, and it was kind of a weird situation I was put in, because we then pull back in, and he finishes with his parking spot, and she says, well, Manny, how do you think you did? And he's like,
Crushed it.
well to quite well. And she's like, okay. And he's like, no, honestly, I think I could do better. There were a couple times where I got a little nervous, or
Yeah.
took the turn too wide or whatever. And
You're not the friendliest person in the world. It was
Yeah.
kind of keeping me on edge the whole time.
Right.
No offense.
So she turns back to me and says, Dad, how do you think he did? And I'm like,
Oh, no.
is this where I sugarcoat this shit? Is this where I try to argue
Dude, this is-
for Manny?
Yes,
Or
yes,
is
you
this
argue
where
for
I'm
Manny.
completely honest?
No, I bet you were completely honest, knowing you and your moral compass.
I was
this
completely
is where,
honest.
This is where you go to bat for Manafort.
No,
Manny's a talented kid.
I
He's
threw
going to be...
I threw him under the bus.
Oh, no.
Because this is what I sensed. I sensed this lady is no nonsense bullshit. She wants to know if the parent is
Yeah.
going to try to talk that little snowflake out of this thing.
Okay,
so I was
all
like,
right.
you know what? He was going too fast. He rode up on the back end of that guy who pulled out in front of him. Frankly, I was afraid for my life at that moment.
You did not
I
say
did. She's like, right, you should have reacted differently, blah, blah, blah. And then I gave a couple other small criticisms. She's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's fair. I think your
Did you
dad's
talk
being
about
fair
the
here."
lean?
I did. I said, usually.
ghetto lean he was doing?
I go, usually he doesn't drive one-handed as much as today.
Yeah.
Usually he's more 10 and 2. And
How
she's-
did we handle the train tracks episode?
yeah, she told him not to launch that. She actually said we could have died there.
Yeah.
She's like, you didn't look either way. It's one of these ones without the turn down thing.
Yeah.
Which I guess you're supposed to give a quick glance.
Yeah, I've
right?
never
Does
done
anybody
that.
do that?
No.
We all trust that the lights are going to
Right.
Sure.
No, but technically speaking, if you're reading the brochure right, it says you come to a complete stop and you
It
look
does?
both ways. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
see, I
buses have
feel
to
like
do
my
that, but-
peripheral is good enough that if
You're going to beat anything
I'm
coming.
going to beat anything coming. Like if it's just bearing down on me, I'll notice that in my peripheral.
You know what's funny?
No
You-
need to waste a head turn or two.
You mentioned the train tracks, and I think it was. I don't know what day it was last week, but I was getting home real late, and I'm tired, and I was in Wick somewhere. There's a train track, and the lights were even going, but I didn't see the train, and I'm like, and I for a few seconds I was like, fuck
was
this,
there a
I'm
bar
going.
down? Was there a?
No, they don't have the
Just
thing
the
going with the
lights?
lights, and it's bang,
yeah.
bing, ding, 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 and
going.
everyone's stopping, dude. And
I'm
I was
going.
so close.
go through it? No, you
No,
didn't.
I held off, and I looked up, and like the train wasn't that far away in the end. It probably was the right call.
and it's
to wait.
always one of those ones that's just inching along.
And
right?
but once it's there,
Oh, fuck.
But once it's there, dude, it's
Yeah,
like
you could be there 20 minutes.
I don't know, dude. Anyway, it's just
But
funny.
she scolded him. She was like, we could have died there.
Yeah.
If a train was coming, you wouldn't have seen it, and we'd have
Yeah.
died.
Nobody, to Mike's point though, nobody
piling on
I know.
freaking nobody stops and checks those things.
But in the end, he got barely a pass, and so
Yeah.
we're good.
Oh, good.
We move forward.
Now, when you and Manny got in the car to go home, was he like, thanks, by the way, Dad. Thanks for all the help chucking me under the bus
No,
like
he
that.
knows
Appreciate that. Yeah.
I
That's
have to-
funny. I remember mine. You mentioned the private. I think you could take one at the school that was like Harrison had one.
It was more comprehensive, and that's why everybody skipped that and paid the $100 for Lee driving school or whatever it was.
It was like a whole semester or
Yeah,
something.
fuck
where you,
that.
Dude,
Whole summer, I think. I think you had
Maybe.
to take it during the summer. I was like, no, I'm paying
Yeah.
$100.
It was $100. You're right. And I went to Sears driving school, and you went to Lee. I remember most people probably went to Lee. And I remember being in a car, and we had to go pick up other kids that were
absolutely.
doing theirs. And so all of a sudden, you've got like 3 people in the car that are learning how to drive, and then you've got the instructor. And I remember he had a brake.
Yeah, he did.
And he might have even had a steering wheel, like he could take over. I don't remember exactly, but I remember we had to get like on the freeway to go pick someone up, and I was like, oh fuck, we're going on the freeway, all right. And so I'm getting on the freeway, and I remember going and picking this girl up, and it was like I did fine on mine. My dad had driven with me a lot, my mom, and so I wasn't worried about that. But we pick up this girl, and she fucking sucked. And I just remember like driving down the road, and it was like, oh, this chick's gonna kill us.
Yeah.
She's gonna kill us right now.
Why should you be in that situation,
Yes. I'm in the back seat, and it's like, oh, my God, this girl's doing 20 and a 50. What are we doing? And now it's pissing other drivers on the road off, and one of them starts fucking with us, which is exactly what a new driver needs, is someone on their bumper laying on the horn. And it's like, oh, shit. Oh, this is so bad. And people are going around her and, like, kind of getting inching closer to her and then cutting her off and slamming on brakes, and it's just like, oh.
Did you have the big sign on top? You must have,
yeah,
right?
the big "I'm a retard,
Yes,
fuck with me"
fuck
sign. Yeah, we absolutely have that. I don't know what I'm doing behind this box of metal. Please mess with me. Yeah, but we made it through, I guess.
We all do. Most of
Well,
us.
I
do.
fail. Well, I will say.
Oh, we didn't get to Big E. Maybe
No.
we don't.
I passed. But when you talked about the first part, dude, I failed parallel parking.
Did ya?
Oh yeah.
Did you hit the egg? The egg fell off.
I don't remember how. I don't remember exactly how badly.
Sensational deals and massive inventory at dealsinthed.com. Oh, and don't forget to tell them Mike J or the E-Tard sent you.
Were your guys' drivers like normal? Did they seem weird? Because I know I didn't do it. I went through a outside thing too. But we had our school, of course, that had the program. And there was this one teacher, dude, that he was like kind of cool, but it was always rumored that he was kind of a drunk. He was like an art teacher, and it just always seemed like the rumor was always that he was drunk, And he was kind of a cool guy.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing people talk
Was his last
about
name
like,
Steele?
No, Figgy. I don't remember his first name, but Figgy was
Figgy.
And he was like, I just remember stories like I said, I don't know if he was creepy or not necessarily, but I remember hearing stories
Yeah.
about him being like, because he was a driver teacher too, and they'd be like, having him.
That's
like,
what you want, a drunk driver teacher.
Stop and get
Perfect.
Well, like stop
Your
and
math
get
teacher's
kids.
a drunk, whatever, but you're driving
Well,
instructor?
I heard things more like he would make people stop and like, he'd go get food like during the driving test.
Yeah, I've heard of that too.
Dude, I think we ran an errand for my driving guy, too. I think we had to stop somewhere weird
Pick up
for him.
laundry or something.
Yeah, something like that. Like,
Why not?
stop at the, he had to send some mail or something. It was like a post. We had to swing by the post office for him.
Well, the lady today might be a new listener if all went right. Talked her up a little bit.
Oh,
Tried
nice.
to change the subject,
Yeah, well,
So-
I don't know.
I got chatty.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's probably used to that. That's probably an age-old move.
Yeah.
Try to distract her from what's really going on. This man from
Isn't
his
it funny that we
death that is
all
upon us.
leaning his car in the car.
I think that's a funny thing that people do in general. Like as if other people don't know that, like in any situation, if you're in an office situation or like for me, if I'm talking about someone behind their back and all of a sudden they show up in the room, that is definitely my go-to move. Is like to just start talking a lot or like embrace them. Like, yeah, John. So what did you catch that game last night? And I just think my point is, I think that people probably know, like in this situation,
Some
where
people
you're,
get chatty. Some people they clam up. I think.
that could be. I guess.
I went for chatty today.
Yeah, it's not a bad move. That's a fair move. Well, I'm glad he passed.
Yeah.
Is he a decent driver? Is he going to be pretty
Yeah,
good on
he's
the road?
fine.
Yeah.
I think he's like any other kid where you're just not thinking 3 steps ahead like
Yeah.
you and I do just on impulse now.
Yeah.
Instinct.
Yeah.
And
that just takes time
yeah,
behind the wheel.
he's looking in
period.
front of him. Boom. Okay, I'm going there, and I'm going to get this thing up to 55, and I'm going to go around that guy, and
Yeah.
he's not thinking about what's behind him, what's the side of him.
The thing I remember most about that when it was like, you know, especially if it was my mom, because my mom was more of a pushover than my dad. But I remember it was like, okay, let's take the Topaz out and go to the store or something, and you drive. And I drive, and it was like, you know, I'd be flipping on a signal and going around someone, and she's like, slow down. And it's like, whatever. You know, and so being like that, and then I remember being really nervous in the seat with the instructor, where it was like, you're so focused on not fucking up
Yeah.
that you almost can't help but fuck up. Like, I don't even realize it. Unless you're drunk or something, like, staying between the lines is just a no-brainer. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, oh, God, am I going too far to the right line? And, oh, shit, now I'm in the middle. And it's like, that's totally because of nerves.
Overthinking.
Yeah, overthinking, exactly. Speaking of overthinking, we've got some interesting things on today's show I think you guys are going to like, including more on AI. We were talking a little bit about that's
Allen Iverson, yeah. He's back in the news.
No, not him. No, you've got that wrong. Artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
And we were kind of like mixing stories that we'd heard lately about where this is going. And Newsweek had an article this week. Someone tweeted it at me, and so I'll read you some of that. It kind of gets into those things we were talking about. Update on the Google guy that wrote the 10-page.
Down goes the Google guy.
Yeah. Spike Lee in the news today as well, over Colin Kaepernick. This University of Georgia professor. I should have gone if I could go to college now, I would, because I think it's really easy. And I'll explain when we get to him. Chelsea Handler. There's a lot of things going on, but why don't we start with this Newsweek article?
Sure.
Kind of addresses what we were talking about yesterday, as Facebook has really been pushing hard for artificial intelligence, and that's kind of what you were saying. Mark Zuckerberg's like, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. They've got an experiment, and one of their things is negotiating. That's what the next step is with the artificial intelligence world, is negotiating. And they think that's going to change the world bigly. And so it comes out with the a lab, Facebook Artificial Intelligence Research, or FAIR. It's an acronym for that. Recently announced breakthrough chatbot software that can ruthlessly negotiate with other software or directly with humans. The project points towards a bunch of intriguing near-term possibilities for AI while raising some rather creepy concerns, too. And the researchers around the world have been working on many of the complex aspects of negotiation because it is so important to technology's future. One of the long-held dreams for AI is that we'll all have personal bot agents we can send out into the internet to do stuff for us.
Now I got you.
Yeah. Like make travel reservations, find a good plumber. Nobody wants a passive agent that pays retail, which means you want a badass bot.
Dude, this is interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
There are so many people working on negotiating bots that they even have their own Olympics. The 8th annual automated negotiating agents competition gets underway mid-August in Australia. And one of the goals is to encourage design of practical negotiation agents that can proficiently negotiate against unknown opponents in a variety of circumstances.
I want like the Drew Rosenhaus agent, you know? I want that bot.
You want that one?
Tom Condon bot.
You want one that'll cut
Hardcore.
corners and just get you the best deal,
Hell yeah.
period? I know that sounds good on paper, but there are some concerns. So today's bots, they say, can manage the short term. They can book you a reservation at a restaurant. They can order flowers for your wife. You know, we've seen that kind of thing. Simple tasks. They aren't able to have a nuanced give and take that arrives at an agreed-upon outcome, though. To do that, AI bots have to do what we do, make a mental model of the opponent, anticipate reactions, read between the lines, communicate in fluent human language, and even throw in a few bluffs. Facebook's AI had to figure out how to do those things on its own. The researchers wrote machine learning software, then let it practice on both humans and other bots, constantly improving its methods. So it's learning as it goes.
Big chess game.
This is where things got a little weird. First of all, most of the humans didn't know they were chatting with bots. So the day of identity confusion between bots and people already here.
Ugh.
Yeah. Then the bots started getting better.
Are you a bot?
Yeah.
Is this just like a dirty bot? Like some kind of
wish,
prototype
dude.
went wrong.
They just chucked him in the
Get
trash.
a junkyard bot over here.
They threw the E-bot in the trash, but he was just smart enough to like crawl himself out of there and
Fuck,
dust
dude.
himself off and
Walk over here.
I am E. He's just kind of learned just enough to get by in life.
Just a few glitches.
Great, I wish, honestly.
So the bots started getting better deals as often as the human negotiators. To do that, the bots learned to lie.
Oh shit,
sons
we're
of
fucked. We're fucked, dude. Because they have no emotions whatsoever, and if they can
Yeah.
lie and sound like humans,
This behavior was not programmed by the researchers,
Oh, boy.
but was discovered by the bot as a method for trying to achieve its goals. Such a trait could get ugly unless future bots are programmed with a moral compass. They don't have a moral compass.
and if you program them on, they're just gonna fix
That's
that.
all relative anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. The bots then ran afoul of their Facebook overlords when they started to make up their own language to do things faster. And they say not unlike the way like football teams will call plays, you know, so they don't have to go. You go here, you go there, you do this. They're like
Omaha.
Exactly. So the bots start making up this language that no one understands except them, and they're able to get a faster result and a better deal. Facebook altered the code to make the bots stick to plain English. Our interest was having bots who could talk to people. Other researchers have been working to help bots comprehend human emotions, another important factor in negotiations. If you're trying to sell a house, you want to model whether the prospective buyer can become emotionally attached to the place so you can crank up the price. Rosalind Picard of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology has been one of the leaders in this kind of research. She even started a company, Affectiva, that's training AI software in emotions by tracking people's facial expressions and psychological responses. It has been used to help advertisers know how people are reacting to their commercials. One Russian company has been working on emotion reading software that can detect when humans are lying, potentially giving bot negotiators an even bigger advantage because you won't know when they're lying, but they'll know when you're lying.
Ironically, it sounds like what we're doing is handing all this emotion and negotiation over to bots, and we're just going to end up having not to deal with it, and so they're going to be running on kind of outmoded emotion that humans don't need anymore.
Wow, that's a great point.
Yeah, you're right.
Is it dangerous though? Because now you're getting into a point like we already see the problem with socially not well-adjusted people that are so into
I do
their
see
phones.
the problem with that right over there.
But people aren't like face to face having conversations. It's like everything's
Yeah.
settled with a Google search,
Right.
and it eliminates debate and conversation and face to face stuff and interact. Like there is a point. Like parents have to teach their kids if they're doing things right. Like you're going to be in this situation someday. You need to know how to solve this problem or tell this counter worker what the problem is, and you need to be able to communicate with them. Not everything's solvable with a Google search. So,
But what I'm saying is maybe that's gone in 100 years if all of this has been handed over.
yeah, maybe, but then what do we do? Just walk around like zombies, ignoring
Yes.
each other?
Having the perfect
just
life.
jacking off all day?
you don't have to worry about like these awkward emotional situations and everything you do
Yeah.
between your friends, between work, having to call up the
Yeah.
company and being like, this doesn't work. You won't have to do any of that shit.
But
You'll
don't
just
they
walk around
say
in bliss.
Don't they say like human interaction is essential for life? Like
course.
we are not meant to just be like hermits.
But all our
at all.
interactions will be in awesome times, like at concerts and
Sex and concerts.
See, that's the problem. It's sold as the glass is always half full, but people aren't thinking about the negative side of it.
Oh,
No,
I
I mean, I see
know.
this with my kids and their social media and their texting and all that. They don't know how to call somebody up, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I remember being 13, 14 years old and having to call a girl's house.
Oh,
Like, hi, Mr. Smith, is Krista there? Oh, you know,
it was
and that
brutal.
dude, who's this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what are you all about, man?
and
you know,
he would
you're like,
he would always
yeah.
grill you. He would always give you the what for really quick for a couple minutes.
And now
just
they're just
fucking around.
Snapchatting each other.
Yeah.
What up?
What up? What are you doing this weekend?
Yeah.
You know, that's so much easier. Can you imagine how much easier it would have been to ask a girl to a dance or a date or
But then there is that situation where they've got to be with them and they're not able to communicate like probably we were able to because of those stressful times, those awkward.
yeah,
At
but
some point they're face to face is my point.
yeah, but they've got the advantage of being able to have days worth of conversations texting and kind of break that wall
Yeah,
down of
but
like who you are. and-
Not to get too personal with one of my kids, but one of them was struggling recently with like,
Really?
oh wow, now I have to go over to her house and I'm not exactly sure
Yeah.
how to interact that way, you know,
Yeah.
because all we've
So
done
crazy.
is text so much.
That's
And-
so
Yeah.
crazy. It is, man. That's crazy to think about. But that, you know, the story we were talking about recently. I think that girl was sentenced to 15 years for texting suicide. The texting suicide.
Dude,
Oh, 2.5, I thought.
2.5 years,
Oh, was
man.
it 2.5?
2.5 fucking years.
And
Yeah.
really, it was like,
What a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah, yeah. They had a big special over the weekend on Dateline or 2020 about that. But that couple, those two that they keep calling boyfriend and girlfriend, were together for like 2 years, met at a vacation spot, and I don't know that they were ever in the same room together. Like
Right.
their whole relationship was based on texting.
Thousands and thousands of
Thousands and
texts.
thousands. Yeah.
Weird.
That's so weird.
That's where we're heading as you talk
Yeah.
about this AI.
Well, they say, wrapping this story up, while many applications of negotiating bots sound helpful, some seem like nightmares. For instance, a handful of companies are working on debt collection bots. People in debt are scared, they're angry, but sometimes they need to be told, look, this is the debt and this is our situation and we need to solve it. Sometimes being too empathetic is not in the consumer's best interests. So put all these negotiation bot attributes together and you get a potential monster, a bot that can cut deals with no empathy for people, says whatever it takes to get what it wants, hacks language so no one's sure what it's communicating, and can't be distinguishable from a human being. A bot like that could rule the world.
Indeed.
And this always seemed fantasy when we were growing up. It was like, oh yeah, you'll have a Jetsons-like existence, and
Yeah.
we'll be flying around in no time. But it was always 100 years down the road,
It's here.
dude. And if you think back 20 years, they were saying, maybe you'll see some of this in your lifetime, and they're even shocked at how fast it's like. Holy shit, we didn't expect to be able to do this for 50 years.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, they're doing it. So, yeah, there's no stopping it, though. Absolutely no stopping it.
Hey, listeners, who amongst us would not like a better night's sleep? Well, we have the solution. My Pillow.
My Pillow.
Mike
Hi.
Lindell and the fine folks at My Pillow have partnered with the Detroit Cast in an effort to get all of you sleeping like babies every night.
No more flip-flopping like a guppy.
That's right. Go to mypillow.com, and y'all know about their world-famous pillows, complete with patented fill and their machine washability, but they also have all types of bedding-related products, even pet beds for the poops. All of their products are high quality and American-made, so go to mypillow.com, use coupon code TDC. That's the key. You got to use TDC code for the best discount.
you know what's funny? You mentioned Facebook, too. I was reading a thing that Facebook is starting to get worried that people aren't sharing enough personal information anymore as statuses. Like, people are still sharing statuses, like, but they're just sharing articles, this or that. And that's why, if you've noticed, Jay won't, and you maybe have, depending on if you look in your Facebook. But, like, for me, when I go to places and, like, oh, I'm at MIS, let me, make a status, it will just, Facebook already now just rolls up your photos and says, hey, I noticed you're at this bar. Hey, I noticed, and like encouraging
son
you
of
to
a
like
bitch.
share stuff. That's why they
Yeah.
say the memory thing, I think, is like right now every day Facebook will tell you like, oh, this is what you did, on this day 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 7
Really?
and
Yeah.
I think they it looked like they think that
East
the
toenails
reason
picture. It showed up like, hey, it was a year ago today.
the
that you
reasoning
posted
they
this.
think
Yeah.
is that Facebook is starting to get worried that people aren't sharing enough personal stuff on their network, so
I
they can't
noticed
be
they're
building
doing-
up big enough, thing of you. Just keep building up information,
Profile.
That happened to me the other day, or I don't know, a
mean,
month ago
everywhere
too.
you- sorry.
You'll notice they're doing this a lot, where it's like, hey, just wanted to let you know it's your friend's anniversary. You and Dan Vaught have been friends for 2 years now. And it's like,
You're
so
like, who?
And then-
DTRBM.
yeah, DTRBM. And it's like, okay, thank you, I guess. What am I supposed to do? Are we supposed to go out and have a beer now? Like, what are we supposed to do about this?
Well, they want you to
But
do is share that.
They want you to share that with a picture of you and Dan together somewhere.
Right.
And it's like, and then get people commenting on it.
And
I
literally everywhere you go, dude, anywhere you go. It doesn't even, hey, I noticed you're in Commerce Township. It's like, hey, I noticed you're at Proud Lake Recreational. Why don't you let people know you're here and stuff? And yeah, it's kind of crazy.
If not for profiling, he's just trying to churn use, right?
Could
Yeah.
be, yeah. And obviously, and what they're competing with, obviously, is like the Snapchats and stuff where people are just doing it and it's going away in 24 hours or this or that.
Well,
so.
I've definitely noticed, and it bugs me, that when I see something trending on Twitter or I go to Facebook, you mentioned it a second ago, E, that people are sharing stories a lot. Not even new ones. They'll share stories from 3 years ago. I would never trust Facebook for my news.
No, you're right.
But Twitter, it's like, oh, wow, this guy's trending. Let's see what's going on. And it's like someone's written an article, and now 5,000 people are retweeting it. And it's like you're not getting anyone's opinion on it. No one has a comment on it. It's just like, oh, new interview. And then they send it out. And it's like, I like when people are making comments about something. That's what's fun about it. When you watch Aretha Franklin do an obnoxious rendition of the national anthem at the Thanksgiving game, that was a blast to scroll through all the comments.
Yeah.
You know, that
Everybody's
people had.
take.
But now I notice it's just being, my Twitter feed is just being filled up. Do you notice that with like links to stories?
Yeah. Everybody's
know?
too busy now. You know, it's just like retweet.
As that last story I read was tweeted to me from the news record. It's not always bad, but you know what I mean. Hey, you know the annoying as hell passwords that we have to do now, where it's like, oh yeah, capital M, lowercase z,
And it tells you, like, this is really secure or this isn't secure enough.
Yeah.
They want you to have crazy characters like parens and all that.
parens and N signs, at signs, all that stuff. And well, the guy that came up with that, he wrote a book on this. Like, this is how to protect your shit. You need to change it every 90 days. You need to do these weird things. Yeah, he was totally wrong. He now admits that he was totally wrong. This is a shit way to protect anything. And his name is Bill Burr. I thought he was just a comic.
Oh, it's amazing. He also did the password thing, huh?
Yeah, he wrote the Bible on password security.
Is he saying he was wrong, that that's not in fact a secure thing, or it's just not necessary?
He's saying that he was absolutely wrong, and because you're not dealing with humans, you're dealing with computers. It's actually easier for computer bots to break that code.
Is that right?
Yes. The safest thing you can do, according to the latest shit, is like a 4-word password, all lowercase, whatever. And the example that they gave was, let's see. So Randall Monroe found it would take 550 years to correct horse battery staple, no spaces. Whereas the password capital T, lowercase r, 0, lowercase u, b, 4, you get the idea. Could be hacked in 3 days. So I don't know why that is. But yeah, this guy's like, yeah, I really wish I never would have put that out and published it because I was dead wrong about all this stuff.
Interesting.
And he said that hackers understand, too, that when people are changing their passwords, if they're doing that every 90 days, most people will change a 1 to a 2. And things like that. Just change it a little bit. We can still kind of remember it.
Yeah. Well, for the record, for our hackers, it was not just changed from a 1 to a 2. It's been completely changed.
Yeah.
Okay, asshole?
Yep. That is very true. But he said that the hackers know that, too, and they've got coding that recognizes that you're going to do that. Just as humans, we're most likely to do that, and so that's even easier to break. The most common passwords of 2017. Password is on the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is on the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is on the list. QWERTY.
What?
QWERTY. If you look at the keyboard, QWERTY.
Just go right across.
QWERTY. So QWERTY is big. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 is another one. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 0. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Those are the most popular passwords of 2017. So
Podesta was famously password, right?
yeah, yep, sure was. One of the guys responsible for all this brilliance and stuff is the Google executive, the engineering executive, who we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, his anti-diversity manifesto.
Yeah, it was like this big 10-page manifesto. Was he was trying to do it, anonymously, and talking about, all this, basically like all this diversity horseshit, training and this and that. It's just there are differences in men and women, what we're attracted to, what we're going to go into. Well, that was too much for Google execs to handle. And so they figured out who it was. It was a software engineer named James Damore, and he was fired for violating the company's code of conduct. Google CEO Sundar Pichai said portions of the memo violate our code of conduct and cross the line by advancing harmful gender stereotypes in our workplace.
He cut short his family vacation to fly back from Europe to take care of this.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah, no, I'm serious.
Wow. His 10-page document has divided opinion since it went viral on social media.
You imagine that flight home? He's just like,
God damn it, we're going to find this guy.
son of a bitch is going to tell people
Just
that.
can't wait till next week. How ridiculous. Damore graduated from Harvard in 2013. It noted that women could not get ahead at Google because of biological differences. It prompted backlash from Google's head of diversity, Danielle Brown. Boy, I can't imagine that would prompt outrage from their head of diversity. Brown said Google fostered an open environment and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, part of the manifesto, I didn't bother reading all of it. I probably should have, but I didn't. But in here, he cites differences between men and women. And let's see how sexist and off the mark he is. So this is an extract from his lengthy memo. Women, on average, have more openness directed towards feelings and aesthetics rather than ideas. Women generally also have a stronger interest in people rather than things, relative to men, also interpreted as empathizing versus systematizing. These two differences in part explain why women relatively prefer jobs in social or artistic areas. More men may like coding because it requires systemizing, and even within SWEs, whatever that is. Comparatively, more women work on front end, which deals with both people and aesthetics. Extroversion, expressed as gregariousness, like that word, rather than assertiveness, also higher agreeableness. This leads to women generally having a harder time negotiating salary, asking for raises, speaking up, and leading. Note that these are just average differences, and there's overlap between men and women, but this is seen solely as a woman's issue. Neuroticism, higher anxiety, lower stress tolerance. This may contribute to the higher levels of anxiety women report on Googlegeist, and to the lower number of women in high-stress jobs. We need to stop assuming that gender gaps imply sexism. Men's higher drive for status is another thing. We always ask, why don't we see women in top leadership positions, but we never ask why we see so many men in these jobs. These positions often require long, stressful hours that may not be worth it if you want a balanced and fulfilling life. Status is the primary metric that men are judged on, pushing many men into these higher-paying jobs, less satisfying jobs, for the status that they gain. You could speak to that, my friend?
But here's the thing, man. Is it environmental or biological? This guy's suggesting it's biological. And
it sounds like
I think
it.
the point of all these diversity policies and affirmative action and all that is, hey, this is an environmental issue. Let's level the playing field and change how society looks at young girls and young boys and allow them to go into what they want.
But don't you think that's just the way we're hardwired? Like women,
I believe men are
in the household.
Generally, there are some wiring issues here.
Yeah,
I believe it's a mix of the two.
Yeah,
but who am I? I mean, that's just my gut.
I mean, there are outliers on either end where you've got extremes, and you've got a mother who's a monster and treats your kids like shit. But for the most part, I think most of us who grew up in a stable household had a mom that was more nurturing. You went to mom if there was a problem before dad. At least that was my experience and friends I had to experience. You didn't go to Uwe. You went to Margit. You went to my mom, not my dad. My dad was.
But to what extent is that environmental, though?
I don't know. I assume
because
it's something where
Uwe was raised in a tough German household, and that's
damn it,
Marcel! You don't fuck with your dad because he didn't fuck with his dad, and that's how it was. That's just how he grew up. So to what extent is it that versus he was born and he's wired that way? Marcel is born and he's wired to report to his father like that.
I think
it's a huge mix, and I think this guy's walking into a huge fucking mess trying to, as a non-scientist, trying to lay out all these broad
especially
ideas
at Google,
like this.
Especially in Silicon Valley where they've had problems with diversity issues and it's a big topic of conversation. You're not going to win that argument. I don't know, dude. I just think like what is it then? Like men are the ones typically throughout history which are the providers. We feel
the hunters and gatherers.
Yes, and
hunters versus gatherers.
Yeah, and so the women have a role and the men have a role. And if they want to get the woman, which is the goal, you want to get the woman, you need to impress her with status, a job, proof that you can provide for her, give her safety, and all those things. And that's the men's job. Is that something that like we learned over time, or is that something we're just ingrained with? It makes the mix work.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely noticed things in my daughter versus my sons growing up, and the things that they were attracted to in terms of playtime, and how they react to me and how they react to Gab, as you say, mom and dad.
Yeah,
but I don't know how much of that is wired and how much is societal.
Do you have an assumption? Because I just have an assumption.
Yeah, I think it's a mix. I think it's a huge mix. I think there's partly you are wired that way, and I don't think that's bad, man.
Yeah,
I think there's a fundamental female role and a fundamental male role that isn't bad to look at traditionally and go, hey, this is why these things mix so well. It's the yin and the yang, and this is how a family unit works so well.
Right. And I would totally agree with that. And I don't know.
That's really old-fashioned.
Oh, dude,
to say.
We sound like cavemen right now. Say that openly and honestly. I understand that anyone listening that's hard on the other side, the progressive diversity side, is going to think we sound like cavemen. and I'm okay with that. I don't know that. Maybe it's a better world if women start being more like men and men start acting more feminine. I don't know. Maybe that's in the long run better.
And I'm not saying at
I
all
doubt it,
in any way that the woman's place is in the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. I think women
Oh,
are,
man.
dude,
I
they're,
think we were
they're
doing that.
just as capable in terms of doing any job out there. And I mean, there are the physical aspects that we've referenced in terms of
Yeah.
firemen, policemen, whatever. You can't, military, it makes
Mm-hmm.
it tough physically. You just don't have the muscle tone, etc.
Yeah.
But in terms of using your brain, dude, there's no difference between men and women.
Dude, when I've said this before, when I think of like men and women, it's very easy to stereotype and go, get you barefoot and pregnant, get your ass in the kitchen, weakling, whatever. When I think of the women that are in my life and that have been around here, it's not even close, dude. It's not even close. Max, who does tireless worker, works her ass off out there, nonstop all day, goes like a machine. The girl, the woman that cleans
Counted
the
your
house.
lawn girl as a
I'm just-
woman in your life.
She is. She's been doing that for me for 10 years.
Okay.
And also Zofia, who cleans, works her ass off. It's unbelievable. I'm looking at her going, I couldn't do that in 3 days. How are you doing that? There was a woman that came here, a black woman, super sweet. She and this house was covered in this fucking nasty like grass wallpaper or something in certain parts, and it was like all of it has to go. This is hideous. And this woman worked like a fucking machine, 15 hours a day, no breaks, just worked and went. And the guys that were here supposed to be doing the big jobs around here. I told you that guy made cry because I had to fire him because he didn't do shit. He didn't do shit.
Very anecdotal, but I see your point.
Yeah, I've just, you're right. Anecdotal as hell, but the point is, dude, these women work every bit as hard as any guy I know, certainly harder than me. The point is, it's not like, oh yeah, you're just not up to doing the job, you're not tough enough. The other problem this guy have is Google's left bias has created a politically correct monoculture that maintains its hold by shaming dissenters into silence. He added that conservatives were an increasingly marginalized minority. Conservatives are a minority that feel like they need to stay in the closet to avoid open hostility. At Google, we talk so much about unconscious bias as it applies to race and gender, but we rarely discuss our moral biases. Political orientation is actually a result of deep moral preference and thus bias. Considering that the overwhelming majority of the social science, media, and Google lean left, we should critically examine their prejudices. If we can't have an honest discussion about this, then we can never truly solve the problem. Psychological safety is built on mutual respect and acceptance, but unfortunately, our culture of shaming and misrepresentation is disrespectful and unaccepting of anyone outside its echo chamber. Despite what the public response seems to have been, I've gotten many personal messages from fellow Googlers expressing their gratitude for bringing up these very important issues, which they agree with, but would never have the courage to say or defend in public.
He's just getting the mission statement response in Jerry Maguire. Remember when Maguire stayed up all night, wrote the new Michigan mission statement, like, we should have less clients and make less money.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, great thought, Jerry. See you, dude.
Yeah. Who's with me? With his fishbowl.
He's got a fucking goldfish and a shit secretary.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, I don't know. It bothers me when the diversity head who's been there a week comes out and is like, man, this isn't how I really wanted to introduce myself to you, but we've got a code of conduct, and these ill-informed gender stereotypes have no place in this business, in this world, and so he's fired or whatever. And
Doesn't bother me.
yeah,
I think he should be fired.
yeah, I don't, but then they go on a sentence later and act like, hey, we respect all opinions and all thoughts here at Google, and we don't want to silence anybody. It's like, well, maybe you don't like the way this guy did this, but I don't see that there's a lot. It's not like he was going, yeah, women are just weak, and women, there's no place for them in tech at all. Like, I didn't get that feeling from him, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. The hell do I know?
It became so blown up, though. This was such an issue for them, a world international news issue, really.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for nixing the dude. Get rid of this cat. Yeah, I know. You've got free speech. Yeah, guess what? Free speech has consequences. It just means, dude, you're not going to be arrested and thrown in jail. Okay, the government's not going to lock you up.
Don't you feel like, though, by doing this, you once again, if you've got some forward-thinking idea, you can blather on anything you want without science, without fact, and just state it. And everyone goes, wow, that's so inclusive. No one dares shoot you down. And so anytime someone does, you're just deemed a sexist, misogynist, racist, whatever buzzword it is today, and then you are shot down. You are punished to the full extent of everything.
Well,
I think that's really unfair to just take conservative views, which I think are horseshit in a lot of ways too. But just like, no, we don't need to hear those. Those are bad views. We're moving forward. We're progressive. We accept everything as long as it agrees with our progressive thoughts.
Yeah, but it's just such an inappropriate forum, is my point. Like, I don't care what the thought is, whether it's the left or the right. The dude made a mountain out of a mole. Well, he blew this thing up into an international news story, and he's not worth that. You know, if you're the CEO or something, or you're this really top manager that does great things for Google, then you're talking about a different thing. You know, I mean, it's a debate whether Ray Rice is kept on the team after he knocks his wife out because he's a good player.
Yeah.
You know, a lesser player does it. Lucky Whitehead situation happens. He's gone, even though it's proved to be he didn't engage in petty larceny.
Right.
So yeah, you can do different things based on what your status is. This guy's apparently not that high level guy. You created a fucking huge stink. Broom him, man. Get rid of it.
See, I would think it would be more disturbing if the CEO of Google did that, and then you go, "Wow, this is the message from the top." But a low-level engineer, and you got to understand, these guys are in these group teams, and if he's seeing a system that's like, man,
nobody's saying he can't make the statement. Make the statement, but guess what? If maybe your employer doesn't like that and might fire you.
Yeah,
like God bless you, dude. You made the statement. You brought up the other side of the equation.
Yeah,
the argument's out there. People are debating it. Cool, but you're going to lose your job.
Yeah,
and I don't blame Google for brooming him.
Yeah, well, I do, because I think it's dangerous to keep trying to squash real debate down. I don't like that side of it, but I understand what you're saying.
Think it through to the end, though. You keep him, and what happens? You have a revolt among employees.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, we're progressive here. Look at what you're keeping this guy. Oh, my God, he's racist. He's gender discriminatory, blah, blah, blah. Why put up with that?
Yeah. I don't know, I guess, but, you know, it is what it is. It's not going anywhere. I understand the frustration of guys, though, like that. There seems to be, if you're a white male in this country, you are under attack, period. Simple.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's not a fun feeling to be like, God, I'm just trying to get through this miserable existence just like you are. There's no golden path I'm walking down. I'm not getting shit for free. It's stressful for all of us. And it's like, oh, great, now I'm just Hitler, apparently. Whatever.
Paying the price for past generations, man.
Yeah. University of Georgia professor, he's got a new stress reduction policy that he's employing this semester.
I haven't read it, but I'm just wondering where this might be leading.
It's aimed at allowing students to choose their own grades in hopes of soothing those who feel unduly stressed by their earned ones.
That's creative.
Oh, I thought I was going somewhere different, but
you were going masturbatory behavior.
I was definitely going some level of sexual. Like, it was just going to excuse why he was banging young chicks or something. Or
it's part of my new policy of stress reduction. No, letting kids pick their own grades, because it's stressful if you earn a bad grade. In hopes of so this is Professor Dr. Richard Watson. We will call him Dick for the remainder of the...
I got very thin skin.
Dr. Dick Watson is teaching 2 fall business courses. So this isn't like, you know...
Basket weaving
or, African art studies. This is 2 full business courses, master classes, too. He's introduced the policy because emotional reactions to stressful situations can have profound consequences for all involved. There he is. According to the syllabus obtained by Campus Reform, students can email the instructor indicating what grade they think is appropriate, and it will be so changed, and there will be no explanation.
Wow, great.
Additionally, the policy states that if in a group meeting you feel stressed by your group's dynamics, you should leave the group work immediately and need to offer no explanation to the group members, with the further option to discontinue all further group work as their grade is then based totally on non-group work.
This guy should return all tuition to these parents who paid for these kids.
Yeah.
This is absurd. These kids are not being prepared for the real world.
The classes will also have open book and open notes tests that are designed to assess low-level mastery of the course material. Dr. Watson does continue by enforcing a only positive comments zone when doing in-class presentations. However, he does note that it is ultimately the student's responsibility to hold themselves accountable.
Oh, yeah, that will happen.
Wrong. No, Professor, that is where you are absolutely fucking wrong. It is your responsibility to hold the students accountable for the work they're doing. It's their responsibility to hold themselves accountable to show up at your class.
Mike, this
right?
is an only positive comment zone.
Not
please.
here,
You're
though.
getting negative.
We're not in his class. Dude,
What an asshole.
Please, someone explain to me how that's helpful to a child. Seriously,
This is
I want
fake
to know.
news. This is real.
It's
Yes.
yes.
Onion?
No, dude, I didn't get it from the Onion. I mean, I seriously want this guy fired. Like, what are you kidding me? What kid isn't going to take advantage? That's what kids do. Kids take advantage of the situation. Most humans do. So how do you, with no explanation, you show up on day one, you get a fucking F because you didn't show up another day, and you go, "Dear professor, I think I deserve an A. No explanation needed." Okay.
But if you do need one, I felt stressed.
No, there's no explanation needed. It's right there in his syllabus. I mean, it's
Why even show up?
That's really astounding.
like, I bet he gets over, like, he's going to become the most popular professor at Georgia University this semester.
Yeah, it's like you might as well just write like a $2,000 check for an A.
An A.
You know?
Yep.
Here
And
you go. Here's my $2,000 tax.
Are there business courses that you have to take mandatory to get? I'm sure certain degrees, obviously, you would. But for someone else, if it's like, I could take volleyball, or I could take badminton, or I could just sign up for this sweet
Business
business
101.
Yeah, sweet business class. I don't give a shit about business, but
Get
I don't
an
even
A.
have to go and explain why I'm not there, and I'll still get an A. Like, why wouldn't you? It's just it's wholly. It's just remarkable that you don't see people at the school. Parents, why aren't parents picketing out front, going, "This is bullshit. We're paying for an education. You do not give our kids that kind of power."
Yeah, I mean, you've got either parents who are like, right on, kids are too stressed. They should have this situation, and I'm a helicopter parent that's raised this little snowflake thing.
Right.
Or the parents who are removed from that probably aren't paying for it, and their kid's doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So they're not involved.
Yeah.
I'm continually just shocked by like the older people. Like if you saw some young professor, like in his 28, I guess, or something, and he kind of grew up through it, being a little, but like these older, is it just a need to like look like they're still young, or like look like I get progressiveness, or I get,
Yeah, I don't know, man.
like
Well,
that's
I'd
what
love to have
shocks
that guy
me. You
on. We
think
should
that
call that dude.
Yeah,
you
we
think
should.
that an 80-year-old or however old this dude look, I mean, is 60, whatever. Like you just
60, 80, whatever.
but you just would think they'd be like, no, that's not how it is.
Well, we should try to get him on. E, you want to see if you can find him at the University of Georgia? I'd love to talk to him about it. And my hope is that he would go, you know what? This policy was taken completely out of
Yeah.
context, and that wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, that the reason I read that story is because my blood boils, and that's the point. It's clickbait almost. But if he's like, well, yeah, we need to nurture these kids, and blah, 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 we'll have a lively debate with him about that.
Hey, the Hamlin Pub supports the Detroit Cast, so let's make it a point to support them with locations in Rochester Hills, Clarkston, Chesterfield, and 2 in Shelby Township. You know there's one near you. The Hamlin Pubs have great food, ice-cold drinks, tons of craft beers, TVs, games, and great entertainment. Come on by or book your reservation today at hamlinpubs.com.
We've got some exciting shit coming up with Hamlin Pub.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah, it's
We're
gonna
not
be-
ready to say.
Yeah, not
Maybe-
ready yet.
Maybe
but-
later this week, early next week.
Perhaps, but I think people are going to really like it. I know we're looking forward to it. Spike Lee, haven't seen him trending in a while, although he's been front and center on the whole Colin Kaepernick debate.
Yeah.
Whether or not teams won't sign him because of his Mr. Microphone hairdo or taking the knee. I don't know. But he has announced a date and a time for his rally as he's working hard.
Is this Mars Blackman or Spike Lee?
Spike Lee.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be awesome if it was Mars Blackman. So he's trying to get Colin Kaepernick back into the league, I guess. And so he's holding this rally outside of NFL headquarters in New York City. If you're looking to go, it's going to be August 23rd. Colin remains unsigned, which is
Just got passed
plenty of
over by the
debate.
Dolphins, right? Dolphins just signed Jay Cutler, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Because Tannehill busted his knee out.
Yep. He was just passed over also by the Ravens, who were looking for a suitable backup for what's his name. Yeah. So he still doesn't have a team. This is hilarious, by the way. He doesn't know how to spell Colin Kaepernick's name on the fucking.
No.
Yeah, Kaepernick's name is spelled Kaep.
Right.
And he's just got Kaper.
Cap.
Yeah. So how absurd. I was trying to find stories out there about like what's the deal with Colin Kaepernick? Like what What's the real story? Like, why?
Well, let me
teams
ask you this:
wouldn't-
what if the real story is, you know what? I don't want to take on that son of a bitch because he kneels for the national anthem, says he isn't going to do it now, but if I bring him on, it's going to be a PR nightmare. What if that's the deal?
I find that so impossible to believe.
Assume it is.
Well,
And take collusion out of it. Take the league collusion, like owners are colluding together, and that's wrong. Take one by one owner.
Yeah.
Say the Detroit Lions. That's their take on it. What's your response? To
I
that?
think that's bullshit. To be honest with you, personally,
Why?
I understand why they. Well, because I don't think we have to agree with everything we each do and say, and there's plenty of. Look, Colin Kaepernick was a 49er for a long time.
But I'll put that back at you. Okay, so the Detroit ownership doesn't agree with what he has to say.
That's their right. They don't have to sign him.
Okay. But I thought you said it would be bullshit if they took that stance.
I don't have to agree with it, but they can do it. I don't want them to be forced to sign him because you think he's a good quarterback. You know what I mean? Like other people think he's a good quarterback. You could hey,
hold on. No. I'm saying if the belief is amongst every owner, one by one, okay, you go around to everyone, and their answer is don't want to sign him because he took a knee, and I think that's bad PR.
Yeah.
Your response to that is that's bullshit. Somebody should sign this guy, or is it you?
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
your prerogative, owner.
It is his prerogative. I still think it's bullshit. And here's why. Because there are countless stories in the NFL of guys who are truly awful that get second, third,
That
10th
brings me back to
chances.
what I said 10 minutes ago with Ray Rice being. It was a close consideration whether this
Yeah.
guy gets kicked out of the league because he was a good player.
Oh, if he was younger, he'd be back in the
Colin
league.
Kaepernick isn't that good, and so it's a bit of a sliding scale,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Well, here's what they say. And the best story I found was written a month ago and said the truth of the matter is he's not good. He's not good. You've got 2 years worth of tape that if, they'll make excuses in the NFL for anybody if they see good shit on tape. Whether you've got a bad team, you know, that you can't help that. But if your tape looks good and they go, he's hitting these guys and they're not making plays for him. His line's giving no protection, but when they do, he's making the plays.
He's not better than Jake Rudock or whoever we have as our Detroit has as its backup.
I don't know. He probably is. Yeah, he probably is. And they said it would also be very, very, very easy to spin the take a knee thing. That would not be a PR nightmare. And here's the explanation they give. It'd be easy to sell. Kaepernick has done nothing but good since he started his protests. The fact that people are offended by him is their problem. He's broken no law in his efforts to bring awareness to serious issues. A few days ago, he helped secure a plane to take 60 tons of food to famished in Somalia. He's donated $100,000 every month to organizations working in oppressed communities as part of his $1 million pledge. He's also funding a Know Your Rights campaign for young people to raise awareness on higher education, self-empowerment, and instructions to properly interact with law enforcement. That's a lot of good that any sane person can get behind.
Well, why isn't he
and
out
the
there?
49ers
Why isn't
did as
he
well.
out here
They matched that,
championing
by the way.
Why isn't he like on 60 Minutes or something saying, "Look, this is why I did this. You ought to know also I do
Yeah.
these things." To me, man, this guy fell ass backward into this thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he's some champion of a social cause. I think he's a dumbass
I
who
would agree.
took a knee one day and realized, holy fuck, I'm in this big thing. People
Yeah.
are paying attention to me, giving me kudos. I'm going to keep it going.
Yeah.
He didn't think this thing through, dude.
You're right.
And if he were the type of champion of a cause, he'd be out front and center arguing why it's okay, why he did that,
Yeah.
and why he should still be employable. Instead, he's sitting off in the background letting everybody else do his dirty work.
Bicker. Well, you have to know this too. Colin Kaepernick, from the moment he stepped into the NFL, has been a fucking weirdo. He gives weird interviews. He doesn't speak well to the press.
Yeah, you've probably,
he doesn't,
among
Yeah.
anybody, followed him pretty close because you're a
Yes.
Niners fan.
And
You
he
saw
was-
him from day one.
Yes, I saw him from day one, and I saw him react weird to people, to situations. He's socially kind of retarded, and so that could be playing into this as well, where he, you know, he probably feels like I don't have to do shit. I don't need to explain myself. I do all this stuff. I don't need to brag about it. It's what I do, and I don't get arrested. I don't cuss out the owner. But he has been told and reprimanded for interviews that he gives, like one of these like sort of not talking to the media because he doesn't like something they said about him. You know, one of those kind of guys. And so he has been told, like, you need to do this. It's part of your job. That you have to have these things and say these things, and then he'll be a hard ass about that too, and just give yes.
Yeah.
You know, so he early on, especially, he had some of those issues. It was easier when they were winning. When they started losing, and a lot of shit was heaped on him. But I totally 100% agree with you. I think there were a handful of guys in the NFL that were like,
Yeah, I can take a knee.
And then, like, a lot of them bailed after 1 week of doing
Yeah.
it because the backlash was so strong.
Well, isn't it true, too, that there was a recent survey among fans as to why the NFL dipped so hard last year? And it was strongly supposed that it had to do with this issue. Asshole players being out of touch with people. And this is just one example of it. I'm going to take a knee during the national anthem.
I'll show them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no problem with an owner going, you know what? I don't care about your playing ability. You're a distraction. PR nightmare. Goodbye. I'll
Yeah.
take Jake Rudock. Rudock?
Jake Rudock.
Yeah, I'll take that guy.
Yeah.
He's got upside.
Yeah. He reminds people of Tom Brady, the way he won. Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, but everything I knew about this league from day one until recently was you blow all that side bullshit off. You're willing to put up with a circus if the guy can dominate at his position. And so, yeah, he's beat the shit out of 4 women. Yeah, he got arrested for 10 things, or he had weed charges. They'll overlook anything.
If you're the right player.
Right. But now, because that bothers me. If the thing is, he took a knee, and you're sacrificing talent levels on your team.
Dude, it's like anything, though. If Big E didn't bring value to this, and he only, I know it's a daily weighing of this. I mean, we look at JPEs, we look at all sorts of data.
Yeah.
We get reports back from listeners. I hate him. Well, I love him. Well, I hate him.
Yeah.
Well, I love him.
A lot more I hate him
every
than
day.
loves,
We
but-
do that weighing, and we go, is he worth it?
Yeah.
And you got to do that, man. If he's not worth it, he's gone.
Yeah.
As an independent contractor, we just won't re-sign him.
Good point. I hope that he's not. We don't think the talent is there anymore, and that's what we're not.
Well, it doesn't
interested in.
matter, though. The talent could be there. He could be the best on the microphone, but if he's distracting to the show,
Yeah.
If he's doing social media posts or in public, he's an asshole to people. You know what?
But he's all those
He's
things.
great on the microphone, but dude, I can't put up with him.
Yeah.
Not tipping bartenders anymore. We're getting reports back, and it reflects badly on the show. These things weigh into employers' minds, and I
Yeah,
don't see
yeah.
why that's
I don't get
unreasonable.
I don't get quite what you're mad about on this one.
Well,
dude.
is it safe to say that didn't weigh in when you didn't have such a spotlight on these issues? It didn't weigh into that decision. It was like, can this
But it
guy
is
make our
now.
team better?
But
I
we're
know.
a social- but we're a social-
I'm acknowledging that sucks because I kind of liked it when it was like, yeah, at all costs,
People
win,
get away with shit.
fucking win.
Yeah,
win.
before everybody was so socially conscious about the domestic violence
Exactly.
issue, guys got away with that shit.
Exactly.
Now it's out in the public.
I want to fucking win.
See, I know to that extent, dude. I know
Yeah.
what you're saying, but
What
it's
are
just
we,
it's
mired
better
in
this
mediocrity.
way.
That's
It's
fine.
better this way.
That's fine. Play to half-empty stadiums, whatever.
Your sport is dying, sir.
I know it is. I know. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and mention Chelsea Handler, Usher. Usher's being sued by people.
Oh, I heard about that. And moreover, we have this day in history with Big E.
Oh, that's right. We got to hustle. All right, we'll come back and do Big E's history next.
The Detroit Cast continues after this short break.
During this break from Mike and Jay's hard-hitting analysis of the latest stories about dead babies or strangely shaped tumors out of India, I want to encourage you to contact Brent Wasik about insurance. Yeah, I know, auto, home, and life insurance isn't as exciting as the latest toy, but it's important that you have the insurance coverages you need at the lowest possible price. Call Brent today at 734-455-1900 for a free quote. Brent's been in the insurance business 29 years, almost as long as Big E has resided in his poor parents' basement. And he's affiliated with tons of insurance companies, so he can shop for the very best prices. Call Brent today, 734-455-1900.
The Detroit Cast continues now, bitches. Here's Mike and Jay.
I ain't do shit.
Welcome back to the Detroit Cast, Mike and Jay. Mulling over some things here about potentially sending E somewhere to cover an event. Hey, lastly, wrapping up the Colin Kaepernick thing, Jay.
Yeah.
You mentioned collusion, and you were also like saying that you don't have a problem if an owner's like, "Fuck you, man, I don't agree with this." I completely agree with you. If an owner wanted to come out and address the public and go, "You know what? My father fought in World War I and died for this country."
Why does he have to address the public?
Well,
Why
he
can't
doesn't.
why
But if
can't he
that,
just pass on him?
but if that's his reasoning, and people give him shit, and he goes, "Yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm the owner of the team," and I so don't agree with that stance. He's never playing on my team. I'd go, fine. I totally get it. But I don't think 32 teams would do that unless there was collusion. I don't think 30. There's always a Raiders out there or a Bengals out there that's going to run.
I just think a guy with Super Bowl experience, it's hard for me to believe that he's not better than somebody that somebody has on a short-term contract that they could easily dump and bring him on.
Yeah, he'll get a chance once some quarterbacks start going down in the preseason. He'll get a shot.
He doesn't have lingering injuries, does he?
No.
He's just being criticized as having not been that good. It was sort of a farce.
Yeah,
Like
he played on a really good team. He had really good legs. He played a different style of football, and it worked for a year and a half before teams started putting extra guys on the edge and spotters. But for a while there, he fucking fooled a lot of teams, and it gave the illusion that he was amazing when really he had a killer defense, great offensive line, weapons galore.
Yeah.
You know, they were a stacked team for a few years there. But when you watch him throw the ball, he overthrows everybody. He underthrows everybody. He's just not. He's not that guy that's going to drop back into a pocket and just throw darts.
Yeah, I think a lot of his supporters right now are pointing to that Super Bowl appearance. Going,
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? He was in the Super Bowl.
He was one play from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he deserves a shot and can be better than someone out there? Absolutely. So we'll see. We got to get to E doing
This day in history with Big E.
I love it. I mean, E has been actually informative the last couple weeks. And
I think so.
Yeah.
I learned something about the penny last week. And
You
then
retained it, too.
I did, too. Yeah, definitely.
I didn't, but I still, like, for a couple days there, I was like, wow, I feel like I know something.
Jesus, are you ready?
I guess. I don't know if the we maybe need to dump down two different versions of the history music, but whatever. Anyway, it was on this date, August 8th, 1898, that or 1894, sorry, that the Kellogg cornflakes were invented.
No shit.
Well,
Yes. I'm gonna reference the invention of it first, and I can do a backstory, I guess, of the people. But like, essentially, what happened is that the idea for cornflakes began when they were part of this.
Jay, do you know what Kellogg's cornflakes are? You probably just had flakes. They probably came in a clear bag.
Yeah, I've seen the box.
Have you seen the one
I know what
Kellogg
they are,
brand?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, what happened was there's John Harvey Kellogg and his brother Will Keith Kellogg, and they were brothers from this Seventh-day Adventist family in Battle Creek.
Got it.
Some kind of religion bullshit. Anyway.
Right.
Is that the Mormons, the Seventh-day Adventists?
And so like they were always trying to come up with these food. They were trying to. There was a big thing in this church, I guess, or whatever you would call it, I guess, to like really not have like eat a healthy lifestyle of like no meats, no alcohol, taste. They didn't want taste because it was like by having taste they felt like you were getting pleasure and you shouldn't be getting pleasure.
They should have invented Wheaties then, because cornflakes actually had some taste.
So anyway,
I kind of disagree. I mean, didn't the Frosted Flake go where cornflake didn't?
Well, absolutely
You know what I
it
mean?
did. But Wheaties was even less than the corn.
True.
It was
Very
just
bland.
like blah, brandy bland.
Yeah.
But Frosted, took the ball and ran with it and scored for sure.
yeah. So anyway,
Grandpa
they were
ate that
trying to.
shit till the day he died. Frosted Flakes.
They were trying to come up with these new foods and to like, and anyway, so one day they were working at this sanitarium sanitarium was where the church was, I guess.
Sanitarium.
And they left some cooked wheat to sit while they attended to pressing matters at the sanitarium. When they returned, they found out that the wheat had gone stale. But being on a strict budget, they decided to
Sounds like
continue.
he's reading this. Sounds
Yeah.
like he's
I am
reading off
reading it.
Wikipedia.
You're right. No, I read
Cut
several.
and paste?
I read several articles about this. I read 3 to 4 articles about this. I am reading.
So the cornflake was invented on accident, like Viagra.
Yes.
Wow.
To their surprise, the flakes which they toasted and served their patients, they enjoyed them, I guess.
To a bunch of insane people, right? It's like, these things look rotten.
Yeah.
Just feed the crazies.
Yeah.
Now, this is
no one's gonna believe them if they complain. They're crazy.
Well,
Yeah, how did they get good data out of that? Is that really good consumer data?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they're
Anecdotal at
they're
best.
trying to sell it to these people, like I said, that because of the idea that they don't want to have food. They don't want to have food with taste. Because at one point, the brothers begin to fight quite often over like their business practices. Because the one, John, is way more just about the church and having it be like not selling money, not making money.
The other one
not
has vision.
No, you're
It's
right.
like,
You're right.
snap,
You are
crackle,
right.
pop. I see this.
For example, Dr. Kellogg, which was John, he had hoped that the Kellogg cornflake would reduce masturbation. In fact,
Oh, for Christ's sake.
he devoted much of his energy discouraging sexual activity of any kind, which is especially adherent, and it was especially adherent critic. He was a critic of masturbation, which he believed could cause
Probably
cancer of the
biggest
womb.
masturbator out there.
Yeah, probably.
But
was he one of the blindness guys?
So he thought that these cornflakes would be good enough, I guess, to have people stop masturbating.
Where does he get that belief and evidence? There's no.
And his brother tried to add sugar to the cornflake at one point, and same thing. He thought the taste. He's like, oh no, this
Chastise.
will. What does he say? I forget the wording he said.
Which is what left the lane open for Frosted in the long run.
Shit, I wish I could remember the word, but he said it was like. It just said it would give people too much
Blasphemous?
pleasure. It would sugar would give people too much pleasure. So they're always fighting between.
They know nothing about marketing.
Well,
Where's the FDA when you need them?
No,
Did
that's
anyone go over and look at this production line here in the 1880s or whatever?
Well, that was all John. John was all because he was not about making money. Like Will, the younger brother, was more about making money. And in fact, he even had a campaign one time that was based on the housewives were supposed to go to the grocery store and wink at their the person working, and they would just get a free thing of Kellogg's.
Wow.
Like that was a promotion. You just go to your person and wink at them, and then you'll get a free.
That's creepy. So wait, who was profit driven? Will
Will.
More so than John?
Yeah, he was way more profit driven.
John lost out in the long run, man. I mean, there's a lot of sugar in some Kellogg's.
They are full bore. They've got
Yeah.
tigers on their boxes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And I will say also,
Is
some
that
of these
Pops? Do they have Pops too?
I think Pops are Kellogg.
Is that Kellogg?
Where
Or
was
Post? Is it Post?
I think Smacks is Post.
Well, Kellogg also
You're right.
began experimenting
Smacks
with
is
new.
Post.
Well, Kellogg began experimenting with new grains and expanded its product line. Rice Krispies came first. First went on sale in 1928.
They chocolatized those at one point.
And I will say,
and frosted them.
Cacode.
even though the cornflake was founded, the cornflake was made and discovered August 8th, 1894. It did take them 2 years to bring it to actually have like the patent. The patent was filed on May 31st, 1895, and it was issued to them on April 14th, 1896. So it took 2 years after it was discovered
To bring that product to market.
to bring it to market. Kellogg's at first sold most of their products by mail to ex-patients, but then began advertising it.
Ex-nut jobs that moved out of the sanitarium.
And
When did they go mainstream?
Let's see here. Pretty soon after. I mean, like I said, Will started, once they started making some money, Will gets on, like, dude, we need to start advertising this thing on billboards and newspaper articles.
Yeah, Sin took over. He spun away from the God angle.
Well, and they end up
he was
fighting about
profit-driven.
it. They do end up fighting, and Will gets the company in the end because John is just too.
Thank God.
He
We
just-
wouldn't have Krispies if it wasn't for Will.
And Pops are Kellogg's, by the way.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite cereals. What about Honeycomb?
No, that's Post.
I'm not usually a fan of Post. I was never a Smacks fan.
Yeah, I never got any of it. I can't comment
Yeah.
on this. This is outside of my.
What was I going to
Purview.
say? There was
Yeah, you ate you ate bran with
Bran.
raisins. You know,
You know, another-
Added my
unsweetened
own.
raisins. Yeah, you added your own. Mom's like, we can just buy them on discount off the shelf, and you can add your own. Yeah, but they're not coated in sugar like the good ones.
Dude, they have cinnamon frosted flakes now?
What?
Holy shit.
What?
Yeah.
you didn't know
Cinnamon
that?
frosted flakes.
I mean, I don't eat cereal, but I definitely knew about that.
Nobody's going to know what I'm talking about, but I'm telling you, they discontinued the greatest cereal ever, and that cereal was s'mores. Doesn't sound like it would be kick-ass. It was amazing.
Really?
And dude, it left like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Probably longer than that, years ago now. And it bummed me out so bad I couldn't find it anywhere. And I don't think they're making it anymore. It had its run, and it was the best cereal I ever
Never
had.
had it. How about Special K, dude? There's another Kellogg.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going back. That's sort of a shout out to John, right? Hey, John, here's your bland ass shit.
I know, right?
Special K's the worst.
Yeah, Special K stinks.
Fruitus Lupus, not bad, huh? The Raisin Bran, the Mini Wheats, the Pops, Frosted Flakes, Crispix.
Crispix is not bad. Was that were they going after
Crispix
the?
is crispy times 2.
Yeah, but they're going after the checks, right?
I think so. Yeah,
That's probably who
I think
they're
it's front and
they're
center.
attacking.
Yeah.
at that point.
I would say another follower of this Seventh Day Adventists. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
You got it.
But anyway, Sylvester Graham, inventor of the graham crackers. So they had another follower of this group also created the graham crackers.
Holy shit, man!
If you invented something, would you absolutely use your name? Because these guys love using their name.
They do, man. Scientists love that shit too.
Yeah,
yeah. All the syndromes and all that.
Could you imagine if we ate something called the Fady and it was just like normal? I'm having a bowl of Fady this morning. Like, it'd just be weird.
Gross.
You say that, but again, like, would the graham crackers, would that sound like anything to you? Would cornflakes sound like anything to you if you didn't tell somebody? I don't know. And so anyway, one more. I would say one more. When you asked about who the businessman, another thing that Will also, like, he really was on the forefront. He was one of the first people to start advertising, making use of test markets and product sampling, and to use modern 4-color magazine ads.
Ooh,
Well,
forefront.
So he saw this shit. He saw that shit
Can't
coming.
be cheap. It's not cheap now to put. Go ahead, put 4 colors on a shirt. Go ahead. See how inexpensive
Put
that
a
is.
red fanny pack on that shirt.
Go ahead. Members only T-shirts. Go ahead. Just throw a red fanny pack on there. See if you don't double the price.
And you know what's kind of funny too? This is actually kind of funny about the brothers. That John did end up getting a doctor in some kind of health something. I don't know what Will did, but they had very little education because their parents expected Christ's second coming before they would need it.
Oh, jeez.
They didn't think they would need it because God was coming back, so no need to learn.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's a good fact, E. I like that. Good job, E.
Nice local history story. You well done.
Yes, very well done. I wanted to do this story before we get to email, Jay, and it's Usher. We all know who Usher is.
Yeah, we do. This is more than I needed to know about Usher, but go ahead.
You got pictures on the ready, right, E?
I do.
I don't need them yet.
Yeah.
Wait. We don't have dick pics, do we?
No. Oh,
it might be worse. I think this might be worse than dick pics, to be
A
honest with you.
herped dick
Don't
pic?
pull up the herp.
No. I wouldn't.
No,
do
I
that.
don't mean worse than a herp dick. I just think these pictures might be worse than an actual dick pic.
Yeah, I would agree.
Really?
2 women and a man are suing Usher for failing to tell them he had the herp before banging him. The lawsuit is set to be filed today by Lisa Bloom. Ugh. Already I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, she's representing someone big, right?
Yeah,
Who is she?
who's she the daughter of? Isn't she the daughter of...
Oh, is that Gloria Allred's?
Yeah, isn't Lisa Bloom Allred's daughter? I think so.
Wouldn't it be Allred Bloom?
Maybe.
She would.
I hope I've
definitely
got that
hyphenate
right.
That.
Yeah. See, look that up, E. I'm almost positive. I think that's the one. So they had a press conference yesterday. Bloom had one of the alleged victims, 21-year-old Quantasia Sharpton, at her side to speak about the nerve-wracking moment she learned about Usher's diagnosis 3 years after sleeping with him. Quantasia has always loved Usher's artistry and music, of course. You're right. Am I okay? Lisa Bloom is the daughter of Gloria Allred.
How do you not hyphenate if you're Allred Bloom?
I don't know.
Maybe she actually wanted to. Did she want to do that on her own, or is she
No,
actually that?
no way.
No, because she's doing her mom's model of how to
Civil
do
rights
it.
attorney.
okay,
I'll
okay.
jump all over TV.
Exactly. So, she
What if
was
there's a fight between Aldrich. Maybe her mom was like, "You will not use my last name."
Yeah, they love the press. That's their big thing, is just like get out in front of the press and argue their cases there. I'm sure they would love that.
God, she's 55. Her mom has to be ancient.
Yeah. So anyway, Quantasia, big fan of his music. So her girlfriends decided to take her to the show for her 19th birthday a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she was selected from the crowd to go backstage before the show.
Wow.
Because she was wearing a birthday crown. And later, a security guard came up to her and asked her for her number because Usher was interested. After the show, she gets a call from a blocked number. What do you know? It's Usher. Asking her what hotel she was staying in and the room number. About an hour later, Usher ushers himself into the hotel.
Oh, have you no self-respect?
And they had sexual contact. Oh, yeah. But after he left, she never heard from him again. Wow, that's weird.
Wow, what
Strange. It was written in the stars. Love. A love connection.
She actually said that. Like, well, after he left, I never heard from him again.
What did she think was gonna? At the most, you're getting a text 8 months later or 12 months when he's back in
bitch, I'm
town.
back in town.
You know what all that is a paragraph in the complaint trying to educate an old-ass judge, as to what the circumstances were.
Right.
That old judge, my goodness gracious, he visited the hotel room, he gave it to
Of
her.
a
and
young
they
lady?
Never
A
called
lass?
the young lady back.
He defiled her and then ignored her.
This is outrageous.
Outrageous behavior. Outrageous
That's
by
all
a
that
black,
is.
nonetheless.
A black. A colored.
So anyway, she never hears from him again. Sharpton was shocked last month to learn that Usher possibly had the herp. And the reason they know this is...
Because he has big blisters on his dick?
Yeah, pussy ones, leaking ones, yeah.
They're weeping.
They are. I guess documents were leaked, not unlike his panus. Documents were leaked showing that in 2012, Usher admitted in court to having herpes because he had settled the case. It was never reported at the time.
That would be such a bummer, man. You're this big star. You're looking like, oh, man, I'm just going to travel the world,
Yeah.
do this shit. And then within first couple years of stardom, you catch the herp.
Yeah.
It's like,
So what is the deal? Like, is the herp, like, I know it flares.
that shit sticks with you forever. You got it forever, like luggage.
Like luggage.
Eddie Murphy used to say.
Yeah. But isn't that one that, like,
Yeah, it flares up.
it flares up
yep.
and then you don't want to have contact with it then, especially. But I don't know. You could probably catch it from one that's not flared up. I don't know, but I don't think so. Could be wrong. I'm not a doctor.
We showed our herpes ignorance at length.
Yeah.
I don't know, about 2 years ago when McCard was here, I recall.
Oh,
us
yeah.
sitting here banning about whether herpes can be had from a mouth sore.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even want to go back to that.
Yeah, it's the whole ABC thing of
Yeah.
herpes. Yeah. Well, so when Sharpton read about the case, she contacted Lisa Bloom to see what legal options for her existed, even though she tested negative for the disease.
But Lisa Bloom was only all too eager to take on the case.
Well,
You have absolutely no damages, but I will take your case.
but doesn't like. Oh my God, I was so worried. I was so scared.
Sure.
I had it. I couldn't
Emotional
sleep.
distress.
Yeah. You can't put a price tag on emotional
can't.
distress, Jay. Well, Sharpton doesn't have the disease. At least one of the 3 clients that Bloom is representing say they caught the disease, and they blame Usher. One of her clients is a man who said he blew Usher with no warning about his STD. Sharpton said if she had known that Usher had herpes, she would never have consented to have sex with him. She would not have taken the risk. Why? Because her health is very important to her. Her health is that's a key sentence. Her health is very important to her.
Is it?
So she decided to join the lawsuit so he doesn't do this to anyone else. That's all I want. Bloom says that her clients are not asking for a specific amount. They'll be fine with whatever a jury decides to award if they win. It's really not about the money, Bloom said.
Can the herps be thwarted by a Jimmy, a condom?
Never heard of that, but I'm assuming you're talking about something to cover up the panus.
That's right.
So that it doesn't
Something
have direct
you've
contact.
Never used or thought about.
Yeah. I believe it does a damn good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, you probably have it at the base of the stalk and all that maybe gets transferred. I
don't know that it covers the whole stalk, and I suppose it depends on how big your stalk is. But a micro guy, for instance, might have trouble
Right.
Jimmy in that thing. Anyway, you want to pull up
No, we don't-
Quantasia Sharpton?
Oh, boy. Is this a just look at her defense?
Well, let's just see.
What? What?
Well,
What?
dude, her health is very important to her, and so she would not have banged Usher.
What about the diabetes she must have? Dude. Is that photoshopped?
No.
This shit
There,
photoshopped?
look at that. There we go. Look at baby got back and shit. Look at that ass.
Usher's a chubby chaser.
Yeah. Who knew? That is a humgorous girl.
Yeah.
The thought that it's like, oh yeah, pulled out of the crowd. You just, when you think like David Lee Roth, like, yeah, give me that one,
Yeah.
or
Courtney
Hall.
Cox being pulled out by Bruce Springsteen.
Sure.
To do the white girl dance.
Hell
Dancing in the
yes, Dancing in the Dark, of course, from the Born in the USA album. Who can forget it? You think of a young Hall and Jonathan Oates. I think both pulled bitches out of the audience
Yeah.
that they eventually married. Boy, I just you hear that all the time. I just don't picture that as what like
Man.
Usher's just got to get in there. No offense.
I'm sure she's a very nice girl.
Would you use that if you were the defense attorney, would you at some point use that comment against her that my health is very important to me? Would you just go, okay, this goes directly to her credibility?
I'd like you to turn to paragraph 12 of your complaint, ma'am, where you state that your health is very important to you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Isn't it true that you weigh no less than 425 pounds?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest my case.
Shit.
Yeah. If you wear a condom.
Using condoms may help lower the risk, but it will not get rid of the risk completely. Having sores or other symptoms of herpes can increase your risk of spreading the disease. Even if you do not have any symptoms, you can still infect your sex partners. Dude, that would suck to have the herpes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not a good one. Not a good one. I know we all have some level of herpes, which is cold sores, for instance, but it's the simplex 2 or 3 that you really
let's not go back
don't
to that.
want.
We bantied that back and forth.
But if you had to have one simplex,
I'd rather have just the one that pops up on your lip every now and then.
Yeah, that one's the one you want.
Anywhere near my panus.
Yeah. Anyway, should we get to some email, Jay?
We should.
And you know what? I've got a bunch of good stories here. We could do some extra time in the members area too.
Let's do that.
So I've
Before
got
we
some
get to
good
email,
stuff.
Mike.
We're gonna find our best friend Doug, and then we're gonna give him a best friend hug. Doug, Doug, oh, Doug, Doug, Dougie, Doug, Doug.
Buying or selling a home can be one of the most stressful times of a person's life. Doug Steinert at Century 21 Campbell wants to make the sale of your old home or the purchase of your dream home as stress-free as possible. Call Douglas at 248-765-1781. Let him and the team at Century 21 Campbell make your real estate transaction dreams a reality. Call him, 248-765-1781. Ask for fellow Detroit Cast listener Doug Steinert. Mike,
Yeah.
we do have some email.
All right.
We have a follow-up from Mark, listener Mark, who happened upon Big E in the wild in the parking lot of a Hamlin pub. You'll recall that email
yes.
from at least a couple days ago.
Reason I was
we
enchanting.
were wondering if
He was enchanting. He was designated as enchanting.
That's right. And this is the one that E thinks maybe he sold a membership to. Do I have that right?
That is exactly what this follow-up is
Okay.
about. Mark writes in, Eric is correct. He sold and then upsold me a membership. And I'm sure glad that he did. The membership has its advantages. The additional audio content is invaluable, and the driveway video is incredibly funny. Thank you, Eric. A few quick notes about my encounter. I asked Eric if he would mind if I snapped a quick picture with him to show friends and family. He was patient and understanding as I fumbled with my cell phone.
Oh, give him 20 seconds. He would have asked you if you wanted a picture.
Then he
He
posed.
didn't do you any favors.
Posed in a fashion that allowed us both to be in frame, as I am shamefully we. Is he a fidgety?
E,
Did you
really
meet a
remember,
fidget?
to be honest
what
with
do you mean a fidget and not
How
tell us
can you
that?
not
a fidget.
remember if he's a fidget?
Okay, it was not a fidget.
That's the most important part of the story.
No, he was not a fidget.
Is
He
he
might have been
wee?
short, but he wasn't a fidget.
Was he short or not?
I don't really remember.
Was he
but I
Jeff
guess he
Benson
was.
short, or was he like?
Higher, taller than that? I think.
Can he do the splits?
I don't know.
Who's the one on Game of Thrones?
I don't know. I don't. That's like talking
Sure.
about a midget.
That guy, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. Was he Peter Dinklage short?
No, if you short, dude, I'm 6'2".
Dude, I'm kind of with you. E. If anyone's shorter than me, they're just shorter.
Right,
Like,
I'm
I don't
6'2",
know
dude. So if he's 5'7", I mean, to me, I guess that's short, but it's not a midget. It's not
Yeah.
a wee.
Does Dinklage get a discount on coffins? By the way,
He ought to.
Yeah.
Less materials. I asked him about other shows and his feelings about other talent, quote unquote. Although I framed my questions with some amount of negative spin, Eric refrained from saying anything derogatory about anyone. Most importantly, I asked Eric if he thought the membership program was right for me. Eric explained enthusiastically what was available to members for a small fee, and then encouraged me to consider the next level of monetary value, which I considered, then agreed to do.
yeah. There's a huge difference between the two levels.
Eric shook my hand and promised I wouldn't be disappointed. I haven't been.
Well,
I know this could sound like I'm putting you on, but I'm not. Eric was delightful. Did he write? Is this from like
he wrote it. Yeah.
Biggie at Gmail?
Yeah. Does it say like Michael.Fady at?
He made me feel like I was the only person in the busy parking lot. I know I said he was enchanting, but I'd like to add that he was dashing as well. All right, now it's getting into the realm of weirdness. Okay?
He's doing his move. Folds his fingers and puts them in his stomach, right where the Sneetch star is.
And then leans back like, well, nothing more needs to be said here. Everybody heard
It
that,
says what
did
it
they
says.
not?
We have one email confirmation of me making a membership purchase, and
I'll
I
give
don't
you
know where
this.
Mike's is.
E is great out in public. If you run into E, he will give you the time. He'll impress you. I will say that.
Yeah,
I
and
hate to say that, but it's true.
It's funny. I was on the website yesterday perusing some things, including our photos, and we have like a subsection that's like E in the wild.
Yeah.
Send us pictures if you've got a picture with E in the wild, because we've got a few of them on there. I'd like to just keep a collection of those. Those are funny.
If you have a picture with Jay and I, it'll be basically like just another person inserted into the picture each time, but it'll look the same. If you've got a picture with E, they're all original.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
It's got some dumb cackle going.
Yeah. He's doing something weird like staring at your tits, or he's, got a really goofy face on his a look on his face. Yeah, so it's good. He's just the key to being in the wild and being great with people is shamelessness. And E is absolutely shameless. So
he is indeed.
He'll just join a random table and have drinks and dinner with them all night. Yep. Sounds good to me.
Hell yeah.
It's on you guys. I'm settling in for a nice meal.
I've had another listener reach out to me about my possible driving program as far as to our next Detroit Cast event, too, by the way. So that the Big E's driving program might be taking off.
No shit.
Well,
drive listeners to events.
God. He'll watch your dog and then drive you to an event.
Hell yeah.
We'll save the rest for tomorrow and move into member content.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of
finish the
stories
show.
here, and let's get in there and we'll wrap these up. Thanks everybody for hanging with us, and we'll do it again tomorrow. We'll see you then.
You've been listening to the Detroit Cast with your hosts, Mike and Jay. From all of us at Radio for One Studios, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you, Detroit.